Hey Ines,
Hello, Thor.
it was
I have
uh, it was
another
it was cold this week, wasn't it?
freezing. Yeah, freezing. It's freezing now as well.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cold.
yeah,
Like, wow, it was cold.
it's really, really cold. Yes, it is. Yeah, but I think by Sunday it's going to change.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
It was a
Well,
bit,
it's
yeah.
winter. It's
It is
normal.
winter.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a friend, Ariel. She lives in Austin, and apparently they also have minus degrees at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, so they have like apparently like on Wednesday it's going to be like 5 minus, and then next Friday it's going to be 20 again, which is really strange, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is. Because I think as of Monday we're supposed to have 8 Celsius again. So that's, from minus.
Yeah, that's really
It's
because
a,
it's
it's
been
a
like,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
It is. It certainly is. Yes, yes, it is. But it's so good to see you. You look nice and warm and cozy.
It is very warm in this room, and you too. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yeah. Thank you. It's very warm in this room too. Yes, yes, it is. Well, I have an interesting way of beginning our communication, which is still part of the subject, even though we sort of went into the healing area as well. So now then, do you know it's the royal we. I'm addressing all and sundry, of course. How homing pigeons and other birds and other birds and other flocks and many other animals in the world manage to migrate from one area to the other. You know that, of course, don't you, Thor? How do they find their way around the world?
Good question. How do they? It's well, I think in this context, it must be some sort of communication, right?
Well, it is some sort of communication. Yes, it is, but it's a form of magnetic field
Right.
which the body, as ours as well, emanates from the aura as well. But this electrical field helps them to follow the magnetic lines of the earth as a form of guidance. Now, before I go on, this electrical force that we have is identical to the electrical force that we use in communication, such as extrasensory perception. The birds and the other animals, they use it to go along the magnetic lines, almost not totally the ley lines, which are different, but the magnetic lines within the earth as a form of guidance. So it's not actually extrasensory perception, but it's also communication. The little birds, their aura is also electrical force. Our aura is also electrical force. The earth is also a living thing, and that also has an electrical force. And so within that electrical force is also, if you're a little, Canada geese. They fly from Canada all the way down. They land in up Fair Isles. They know exactly where they're going. If we are using ESP, we are also dialing an unknown number. I will say Thor. I am going to call Thor in my mind. That is already, without a phone, my thoughts are that electrical force emanating from my aura, going to your electrical force. And that is the same way, let's say, as homing pigeons do, of course. It has the extra qualities. So all things, everything is sent out into the ethers, every single thing, everything that we want to do. And by we, it's not just the royal human we, it's also the we of animals. They're also have their needs. It motivates and stays, everything stays in the atmosphere and then is picked up in accordance to what an individual needs, wants. So I said the radio, turn the radio on, choose your program, and you have a connection. The radio is transmitting, or the radio station is transmitting. So that is then picked up by ourselves. As I just utilized our cell phone as well, that's that as well. We have a cell phone, we dial a number, we don't need a name or anything. Of course, the number has a name, and it reaches the individual. It is selective from everything else that is in the ethers. So what we're doing we are either a transmitter or we are a receiver. But if we transmit everything, it is always guided. So if we talk about sending healing, I'm going to send it to John Doe. Doesn't matter how far away that person is. There might be a lot of John Does, but the guides of both individuals would know it is being sent. So the mind of the recipient will be made receptive to the healing energies, to the communication of the healing energies that is being sent by the transmitter. So what we're doing with thoughts, we are sending healing in the sense of those thoughts to help the body to help itself. The healer, even though they are let us say, the instigator, is helping that individual to motivate their own power of healing. What we say sometimes is very controversial, meaning that we each have different forms of opinions, of course, which is fine, different methods of doing things and different ways of saying things as well. However, when we're laying on of hands, we're going away from the extrasensory perception, of course. What we're then doing, we're then transmitting and directing that power, energy, electrical force again, for saying laying on of hands through the hands, of course, the power to that individual, which is the same as the analogy of the birds, of the Canada geese that were moving from one point to the other. Everything remains in the atmosphere. If we were to go back a long time ago, when the Earth was still in its newest state, the ethers that are in the atmosphere contain all of the communication, meaning the volcanoes, the rumbling of the earth. Everything is contained within the ethers, even from then. The ether is the atmosphere. It's made up of many, many different gases, and these gases are able to formulate and create the ability for everything to move. And for everything to move is also the ability of communication from homing pigeons or any of the animals, but we're also animals. So our communication with one another is also formulated in exactly the same way. It is guided, it is understood where we are transmitting our thoughts to. I'm only talking of healing, but that goes in many different directions as well. So when something is sent, the mind is opened up, and the recipient need not necessarily know that the healing is taking place. The spiritual self would know, and the spiritual self would then take it into itself to perhaps, if we then move on to colors very easily, would able to balance the color spectrum within the aura, within the spiritual self, to literally help to strengthen and to give power of thought into that mind as well. So everything is contained in the aura, but everything also has a different vibration, and the vibrations differ depending on, they're like layers of cake, if you like. So they're in the ethers, and these vibrations, everything moves on a different line. Every human being has their own vibration, which is in the atmosphere. So what we're doing, we're concentrating on one thought being transmitted. Even as we're speaking now, there are many, many different vibrations all around us. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are able to pick up the thoughts, Thor's thoughts as he is sitting there, or my thoughts, even though I am speaking, you would still be able to pick up a certain sense of communication, because we are linked, and we are, well, I can't see you, but you can see us. So you have a face, something to align yourself to. And so what ESP is, of course, is outside of the normal perceptions of the senses. It's the sensual act. It's the sensual mind that we have. The sensual mind, also the spiritual mind. You can call it whatever we want to. That is the conductor, and that is also the receiver. Receiver, and also the transmitter as well. So we're able, whether we're 1,000 miles away, whether we're next door, in another room, or if we're even in the same room, we still have the ability to send these positive thoughts to uplift the body and the mind. These waves move very, very slowly indeed. So what I was going to move into, a self-help situation, is that we are able to help ourselves. It's wonderful if we're able to have laying on of hands, somebody to talk to physically, but we don't always. What we are able to do to reinstate the colors within our body, the equilibrium with our bodies, if our mind is heavy, distressed, so on and so forth, is literally to breathe in that a particular color of your choice. We did go into the color spectrum of the aura, the color spectrum of the chakrams. We have done that before. What I can say, without getting complicated, and there are many different versions on the different colors that even pertain to the body, but if you can think of what color you like in particular at this very moment of time, that you breathe in that color. If I can give you an example, if you have a headache and you think the color to breathe in with a headache is indigo or violet. So let's say you're sitting on a chair or you're lying down, whatever your preference is. You then close your eyes, which means you're concentrating on yourself and you're not seeing the bits and pieces that are all around you. You then close your eyes, and then let's say we take the indigo and the violet, and then you draw in a deep breath of the indigo and the violet. It's going through your body, and as you breathe it in, that color will be distributed through your body, through your lungs, through the body, through the blood system, throughout the whole of your body. The spiritual self will also be in receipt of this indigo and the violet. And you will actually see within a very short time that your headache will dissipate. It does move away. You're breathing in this positive energy of the indigo and the violet. You're strengthening that part of the mind, and it will go. And the same thing would apply to, say, the throat. You had a sore throat. To eliminate, say, a sore throat, speaking too much, whatever it happens to be. Concentrate on the blue. That is to say, the blue chakra. Again, you close in your eyes, and you draw in that powerful energy, and you breathe out any form of negativity, any difficulties that you might have. You breathe in positive energy of the blue, you release the negative energy. In and out you breathe, in and out. And that tiny little mantra, you are communicating with yourself. How do we lose the color? It can be a bit through illness. It can be a bit through stress. All of those situations. We just lose color sometimes. There's an awful lot going around us. So that is a little tip from the, from the color situation. A color workshop, which we might do at some point, is more intricate because color obviously also has sound. It has taste. It communicates in many different ways, sound, taste, and so on and so forth. But the healing that triggers off our own healing. It helps the body. It helps the mind. And of course, we have the help of our wonderful doctors, which I never, ever hesitate to answer. This is almost a preventative situation. You're helping the body as much as you can. We jumped from the pigeons or the other birds, and we jumped into to extrasensory perception, which is also communication. And then we just gave a little bit of the color healing for ourselves, which is also communication. But voice healing, just to wind it up a little bit, voice healing is simply a matter of talking to someone. If we're sending a message with no particular talk or thought, but what we're doing, thought is talk, because the talk is only a thought put into a sound version. And how many times has a friend called up, or vice versa, you've spoken to a friend, and just by talking to someone, it has made you feel better. It's positive. The voice is absolutely positive. If you're able to listen to somebody who is difficulty, allow them to get it off their chest, and that instigates their own ability to deal with a situation. It's another appendage. As I said, if there are voices, if there are people that have a distressed mind, being able to talk to them, of course, to listen to them as well, is of paramount importance, and possibly to comment on what they are telling you. It helps them to trigger off their own healing, as well as, of course, when we come back to the touch healing, which is it never ever goes amiss. The sensation, the need that we have as human beings to have that little bit of contact with others as well. I saw a program on meerkats. It was a repeat, and one of the little meerkats was kicked out of the nest, and she dying for no other reason, apparently, that she wasn't in contact. This little creature needed not only the warmth out of the bodily warmth, but it also needed just touch of another of its own kind. And that's what we're missing. We're missing the touch, the love, the cuddle, the interaction that we have with other people at this particular time. It's so very, very important. And with the healing, with our communication, with the extrasensory perception that we have, we're still able to communicate with every single bit of one of us. The podcasts, the other sort of Zooms that we have around the globe, all help us to stay connected. And through that, of course, we can give that sense of strength and healing. Nothing ever that is done, that is said, ever leaves. Everything is still in the aura. So in the atmosphere. So when we talk about regression as well, which is also communication of our memory, what we're doing is simply, say it was a long time ago, where the mind is going back, because nothing is lost. The event has not been lost. So we're still communicating at all times. We're communicating within what is accessible in the ethers with us. So that possibly makes maybe a little bit of sense, that we're not just jumping off a deep end, keeping our fingers crossed, that by communicating with other, let's say, with mother or father, anybody that has passed away, that we're actually, it is real. We have lived those times. We can link up with that memory. It can become real. And we can learn from that situation. It's communication on a very grand scale, very extraordinary scale, but it's still within ethers. It's still communication. And that applies to the regression, the name, of course. If it's healing, the name, extrasensory perception, name, all of those things, color and name. We just break them into little tiny pieces for ourselves to understand, because it's such a vast area. But one is all, and everything is contained within exactly the same, let's say, the same circle of knowledge and of abilities as well. So, Thor.
We like to end the podcast on a positive note, don't we? So
we do.
So what's the positive message? What's the positive message of the week?
Well, the positive message of the week is certainly to look for the good news. And there is good news. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and let that light become bigger.
Yeah.
And the light will become bigger through all of the things that we're doing on our own behalf. If we're meditating for a little bit, if we're trying to be kind for a little tiny bit, if we're opening up, all of that makes a lot of difference. And we will get over it. We will.
Yeah.
And remember the breathing. It really does help. Breathing in the positive energy, add a color to it if you like, and exhaling all of the negativity. Do that 3 times, a few times a day.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting that you mentioned that actually, because I woke up like really early this morning, so I ended up having a bit of a earlier than I should have. So I ended up having a bit of a headache midday. So I did actually do that exercise of just doing some conscious breathing.
Yeah.
To just alleviate the headache a tiny bit, and
Yeah.
it works. It really
It
works.
does. It starts the day on a really positive note.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. I do that as well. Doesn't take a lot of time, and just enough time, let's say, for my mind to concentrate, and it really makes a difference. Yeah, it does. Whether it's hot or cold, but every day the figures that we're seeing with the COVID is just a tiny bit better.
Yes.
Just a tiny bit better.
Just a tiny bit better.
Yeah, exactly. But it's better. It's good. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
well, thank you for another week, Ines. That's a pleasure as always.
Thank you. Yeah, you too, Thor. Take care.
You too. Take care.
Yeah.